Hello and welcome. Whether you are here out of interest or intrigue, either way, I hope you will find something of value at the Human Channel. I'd like to thank shishirratanart.com for supporting and enhancing this video. If you are looking out for a photographer, original abstract art on canvas, or looking to read a blog, head over to shishirratanart.com. Social media links are in the description. All right, folks, today on the Human Channel, we have a very special guest. We have Vivek. Vivek is a social entrepreneur. He's dealing mainly around the topics of depression, upliftment of youth when it comes to mental illnesses, and also suicide prevention. For further details, I would now hand it over to Vivek. Vivek, welcome so much to the Human Channel. Please go ahead and give us a little more insights into what you're all about, what your podcast is, and everything.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Shishir, and it's my pleasure and honor to be on your podcast today. And friends, my name is Vivek Sharma, and I'm a social entrepreneur, as Shishir has said. And I work big time on prevention of depression and suicide amongst youth. And I do it through various ways, and amongst them, the biggest one is the podcast channel, which is named as God is Not Fair question mark. Through God is Not Fair question mark, I reach out to lakhs of youth, invite them to share their queries and problems with me, and they do share. And so far in last 7 months, I've been able to help more than 100 young minds who had been in depression, or few of them had been suicidal as well. I'm an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, and I had been working on corporate for close to 12 years before I started my own company. Then subsequently, what happened, I lost my only son, and that led me and my wife, to severe depression, and then eventually we attempted suicide, but nature had a different plan, and that's how I'm here with you all.
Having to go through a major loss like that is not easy for anybody. There was an intervention where you were unsuccessful, fortunately, in your attempt, but something good came out of it, and now you are reaching out to a broader scope of people through your podcast, which is titled as God is Not Fair, followed with a question mark at the end. So, Vivek, the premise of the Human Channel is mainly around, how do humans coexist without biases, without the filters that we have been taught to think about when we think of another human being, whether it is caste, creed, color, culture, faith, and whatnot, right? So in your time, as you have been helping and interacting with people who are having depression and whatnot, what have you come across, how people have been able to go beyond their depression?
Let me give an example. Like whoever falls prey of things like depression or something like that, everybody is a very strong person within. It's just that matter of time when we get into some kind of circumstances and we are not able to identify our true path. Be it racism, be it bullying. You'd have seen many people have changed so many things. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, if we talk about him, he was thrown out of the train just because he was black. But then he fought back. Everybody, like Gandhi, everybody has got that power. Everybody has got that, wisdom. The only thing is that we ourselves kind of inhibit ourselves. Like, for example, if somebody says something bad about me, so there are ways. I know everything, like how so-and-so, handle this, how I should do. And if I have to give gyan to somebody else, I would tell him or her that you do this way, you should do this way. But when it comes to applying on yourself, the things become different. So the thing is that we, at that point of time, we need to take a pause. What happens? Many of the times, we get into the flow of the things or flow of the event. Suppose somebody, abused me. So if somebody abuses me, of course, I'm not going to feel pleasant. If I'm not going to feel pleasant, I'm going to respond, or I'm going to make some kind of response. I maybe, I would abuse back, I would do something. That responsiveness will come. But if I pause at that moment, that wait, this is not the time. this is not the right way, wait for a second. Even if I have to abuse, you abuse later, but wait for a time, wait for some time. If I wait for some time, my brain starts giving me some kind of signal. It starts giving me the rationale. This is good or this is bad. So that's how any circumstances, be it a heartbreak, be it anything. We just need to take a pause so that we allow our brain or our system to choose what is right and what is not right.
Vivek, that is such a good point you have raised, about pausing before, taking an action. Because many a times when something bad happens to any of us, the first instinct is to get angry or to get confused. And, it's that fight or flight, reaction that comes to our mind, and we do or say something or think something which maybe down the line, after say few months or years, we might actually look back and really regret, thinking that why
Correct.
didn't I just not pause over there and think about it even for 5 seconds. The other thing I liked what you said was that the biggest thing inhibiting us is we ourselves, and that is such an important point. I personally believe in that too, because the moment you think I can do this is half the battle won. But the moment you think that you cannot do this, I would say the battle has been lost in its entirety. So, can you tell us about any incident, any story, any example that you have come across where you have actually seen this in action? What was it like?
I'll share one funny example with you. I'm brought up in a place called Kanpur that falls in UP, and it's a small town. People say it's a Mahanagar, but having traveled the world, it's a small town. And I was in 12th standard, I guess. And I used to go to coaching, in any small town, there is a culture. After school, you have to do some classes or something, you have to go for coaching and all. So Kanpur is a hub for coaching. So I used to go to coaching, and while I used to return, it used to be in the evening. Somewhere it used to be around 6:37, so that it was pretty much dark, and the distance was not very far from my coaching to my home, and there was one chalk, we call it, crossroad, and there used to be few dogs, and these dogs, I don't know what, probably they had some karmic connection with me or what. But they used to, it felt me like, they were waiting for me. The moment I reach that particular chalk, it's called Baba Kuti. The moment I reach Baba Kuti, these these dogs will come and they start barking at me. And many of the times, because I used to get frightened, and I was a kid, I used to get frightened, and I used to, paddle more because I used to travel on cycle those times. So they used to follow me for some time, at least 200, 300 meters, and then they used to go back. But this less than a minute episode, almost every day, it was making me panic. It was making me anxious, and I used to think that, okay, let me try a different route, let me try a different way. But there was unfortunately no other way. I had to go through that lane only. So it's been, this episode, it kept on going for almost 2-3 months. And every day I used to get pissed off. Today I'll do something. I'll not leave them. But then the moment I used to see them, they were all 5-6 dogs, big dogs. So I used to get frightened. One day I was literally determined. Today, either they or me. I was like that. Either they bite me, kill me, whatever, or I'll kill them. Tomorrow onwards, I don't want to see them. I don't want to face them. And that day, the moment I reached that Baba Kuti, Choraha, they started approaching me as usual. And I got up the cycle, and I picked up the stone, and I hurled at one of them. And for a change, this time, I ran after them. And everybody, all the dogs, they disappeared. And that was the day. And, later on, they never disturbed me.
I mean, this is one of the instances, that you're talking about from your life. And if we look deep into our own lives, there are many such instances. I mean, not that everyone has to
Correct.
go through a road and experience dogs, but yeah, metaphorically speaking, there will be certain paths we take, and there will be metaphorical dogs that will be on the way troubling us. But then,
Yeah.
the moment we decide that okay, enough is enough, and I'm going to take control of this and do something about it, I think that is where the turning point comes in, and it's important for people to realize that sometimes they need to take matters in their hands. But on that note, also, like in your case, of course, you were fighting violence with violence in this case. Since the dogs were threatening you threatened them in your own way, right? Obviously you can't bark back at them, but then you try to do something that only a human can do, right? But then it's important how we decide to retaliate, or how do we decide to react. Now, in one of my episodes, Vivek, and our listeners, I have actually spoken about how we react depends on how our life will end up as a tangent, in the path of the grand scheme of things. So if I choose to not react, like in your case, if you would have chosen to not react, your life would have continued in the same path, but then you decided to take control and do something, and your life now took a different tangent, and now that trouble got away from you, right? So is there any incident where you can tell us about where someone decided, that any cases that you came across so far where they took matter in their own hands, but the outcome was positive, and what they did was also quite, not violent or anything, but they took a very uncanny approach. Was there anything like that you want to tell us about?
I have a listener who called me. I'm telling his story rather than I telling my story. Let me put his story, and it is going to be anonymous, of course, because I never reveal anybody's identity. Being in advertising space, I used to leave my office very late, so it was close to 11:30 in the night, and I got a message, and sir, I want to speak with you. So I thought that okay, somebody is calling me or somebody is texting me at this point of time, means that person seriously needs me. So I was almost out of my office, but then I stopped at the road and parked the car, and I called this person up. So other side, this gentleman was sobbing. He was not crying. He was sobbing. I asked him that why are you crying? Can you please stop and tell me how I can help? So this guy told that he was some medical student, and in North India, being a doctor is a very prestigious thing. People or students, they take a drop of 1 or even 2 or at times 3 years just to clear the exams for being a MBBS student. And this guy got into, he dropped out for 2 years. He got into medical seat in a very good college, reputed college. And in his third year, he got rusticated. Now, here, it was very difficult for him to face this, because the parents, the society, and everybody near and dear one, they had a lot of dreams and everything. He was fearing, if I go and tell my parents that okay, I've been expelled or dropped out or rusticated, either they will die of something, or they will kill me. So he was very upset and he was very depressed. So when I heard him write, I told him that why do you think that they will not understand? Today in our society, people or children, they find it easier to speak with a third person whom they don't know, rather than telling it to their own parents and their own siblings at times. It's a very different scenario we have created today in our country. So this guy, but good, he spoke at least. Then I told him that why don't you accept it? Now I use one model. It's called Danda model. Danda, if you understand, it's a stick. Danda model. So I told him not to live in the denial and go and accept and tell your parents whatever will happen. You see, you have done something. You have to take that kind of charge. And then somehow, he went and told his parents and told everything, and probably they accepted it. And he could have, and later I came to know towards the end of this call that guy was standing on his rooftop, and he was about to jump off to kill himself. And just because in the daytime, he has listened to my podcast, and I keep sharing my number in the podcast, so that in case somebody is in depression, somebody is into that state of mind, please connect with me. Don't at least talk. I'm nobody to kind of guide anyone, kind of tell anyone what to do, what not to do. But at least once somebody talks, they get clarity. The pause thing, what I discussed earlier. So eventually, after a week's time, I got a SMS from this guy. He said that thank you so much for stopping me from doing something very stupid. So eventually, he went and faced the situation. He shared with his parent. He didn't get in touch with me later on, but I'm sure he would be doing something good, something great, and something satisfactory. This is one way, how you have to face the thing. You have to overcome this. There is no other way. Quitting is not an option.
I hope you're enjoying the episode. I just wanted to take a brief moment to say that we are open to feature your business or podcast on our channel. If you're interested, please drop a line on Facebook or Instagram to talk details. And now, let's continue with the episode. Many times people who are broken inside or who are really struggling with the unfairness of life, so let's put it that way. Life is not fair. Even I completely believe in that. Life is not fair, but we have to be strong enough to chart our own path. So that strength sometimes we lose. We are humans. We are made of clay, and we are not always so strong. But sometimes just talking to anyone about how you really feel, and maybe a couple of words of just encouragement, or sometimes even the harsh truth, actually empowers people to take the right step. And it's amazing that this story had a good ending. And I truly hope that the person who spoke to you is doing well, and will have stories to tell that there was a time when he tried to do something stupid, but then he realized when he looks back how important it was to actually speak to someone, listen to those words of
Correct.
encouragement, and take the right step. So Vivek, let's change gears a little bit and move towards racism. Let's talk about that. Now, that is an uncomfortable topic, and as much as anyone would like to hide it under the carpet or downplay it, the fact remains that we as humans are prone to racism, just like how we can bleed when we get hurt. I mean, it is, it's very harsher to put it, but that's exactly how it is. Whether it is to a fellow Indian or to a fellow human from any other part of the world, racism is within us. What do you have as a message to our listeners who might be experiencing racism and might be experiencing depression because of that? What is your take on it? What is your message to them?
Good. It's a it's a very sensitive thing, and it's a very important thing. What you have picked up, Shishir. I must appreciate, and I must encourage you, and I must thank you enough for that.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, if we see human, what we call human, it's made up of three elements.
Mhm.
One is called subtle body. The second is called if I call it in Sanskrit or Hindi, Thul body, and Sukshma body, Sukshma Sharir, and Atma.
Mhm.
Now, a subtle body, that is Thul body. Subtle body is what? Subtle body is basically our senses. Like for example, if you smell something, if you have eaten jalebi, okay, and if you go in some street wherein you smell jalebi and you feel like eating it, or any other dish, maybe cake or something, you feel like eating it, and at times you can't, especially the diabetic patients, they can't stop, they can't measure, and they can't hide their craving. They literally crave for it, and when they eat it, they get the repercussions of it. Similarly, we have got aankh, naak, kaan, jeet, twacha. These are five senses. Eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and skin. So we live a life wherein we look for instant gratification. Okay, this boy is good, this girl is good. Let me speak with him or speak with her, kind of thing. Okay. The second part is the Sukshma Sharir. Sukshma Sharir is about the mind. What controls these things? Why there are few people, they have such kind of control, they become brahmachari. They do not even touch a woman. At the same time, there are some people in our society who become rapists. They are not able to resist their, urges. So it is because the mind controls those senses rather than those senses controlling the mind. And the Atma, the soul, that is the carrier of this body. So I'll give very, very strong message over here. Those who think that he is black, she is black, or something, or he is from UP, or he is from this part of the country, this part of the world. These things do not matter. Does not matter if you are John Miller, Narendra Modi, or Shirish or Vivek Sharma or whoever. Once we get into the operation theatre, we are always called by our Mr. Sharma ko andar lekar aao. Please bring the patient, Mr. Sharma, and whoever inside. But once we are dead, they don't even speak our name. They say that body ko mortuary mein bhej do. Send the body to mortuary. So we are kind of slaves of our identity. Now, identity is good. It is good to be Indian, it is good to be American, it is good to be Australian. But that is not the only identity we have. We have identity of human. This body is going to be, perished. It's a perishable thing. So why do we attach ourselves so much with this? That it hurts somebody. And when we hurt somebody, we create a different kind of aura, which is going to come back to us. It's just like, maybe, the person who is the victim, he is not able to punish you. But somebody, someday, something will punish you. It all comes back to us. So I feel it's a idiotic thing, like racism. It's not about the person who is suffering. It's the person who is, who's kind of doing it. Like we say, in terms of bullying as well. So the person who is bullying, he is the culprit, and it has got a lot to do with our society. It is changing. It has changed a lot, but it has to evolve a lot more.
That's an amazing thing you mentioned there, Vivek. I really liked it. That at the end of the day, we are just a human, and to your point, it's like a cue for us to understand that our time here is limited. The earth that we live on is also limited. The resources are limited. It's a finite space, and anything finite has a start and an end. Now, if we keep fighting over what little we have, whether it is time or resources, we are only going to end up hurting each other. And then who will be left? Only us. And humans being humans, we will find some way to, promote racism even within among ourselves. Like someone might
Yep.
say, I'm of a lighter skin. Now all dark skinned people are not there, only lighter skinned ones are there. Now we'll start to end up finding shades of lighter skin, and then there'll be racism within that. Who knows? That's, I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at, don't have to go too far, just look at our television, reality series, our advertisements, our news, everything. I mean, it reeks of this innate desire to differentiate one from the other, and it's quite sad. But then we need more people to think otherwise, to think that nothing really differentiates us than what meets the eye. I mean, to your point, if someone bleeds, they all bleed red. We all have blood within us, and if you strip away the skin, I've made this point of you in my few other episodes as well, but it makes sense. You remove the skin, and then what do you have left? You can't even tell who this person was. You won't know the name won't matter. What is their skin color? What is their faith? Nothing matters. You just have a piece of flesh and bones in front of you. How do you put a label to that? But then,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, Vivek, let's move further in your journey with your podcast, and let's talk a little more about what your podcast is all about. What are the episodes or the kind of topics you deal with, and what is the main focus around your podcast?
I would like to share a small story. This story
Please.
is about a boy
Yeah, go
who is
ahead.
from a small town,
Mhm.
and he has big dreams in his eyes. and he wants to be settled in a big country like USA, and then he wants to marry a specific kind of girl. He wants to earn a lot of money, and he wants to have a lavish lifestyle and everything. And this guy somehow achieves a lot. He comes to Bombay. He settles in that city of dreams. He gets to marry his love, and that's a bliss in itself. Then he is working in a corporate company, in a very big position. And this guy is, IIM alumnus, and then he is blessed with a son. Now, this is what a perfect life we assume for, right? You get married to the person you love with. You are having your own home. You have your own car. You have your son who's studying in a good school and kind of thing. This is what when we say that, okay, I want to settle in life. Probably, if I'm not wrong, most of us have this feeling. Okay, this is the definition of settlement in our society. So this well-settled life one day went to crash. This guy lost his only son in the matter of 5 hours. In spite of being in the industry, in spite of having best of the doctors by his side, he could not save his son. And that guy is me. And that is the day, when I thought that whatever, I had been working for, living for, dreaming for, aiming for, everything is worthless. Everything. I felt like burning my home. I felt like throwing away everything. For what I had been doing all these things. There's no sense in living life. And me and my wife both were in depression because Amog was our only son. And eventually, within 60 days of Amog leaving us, we attempted suicide. But then something happened and we got saved. So that gave me, pause thing I was sharing about. It's a very important thing, and I've been able to practice it for quite some time. And when I look back, and I must tell everybody, whoever is listening to this podcast, there is something called nature. There is something called higher authority. If you believe in God, it is God. If you don't believe in God, you believe in nature, it's nature, or whatever. There is somebody who is superior to you, and that person, that thing always tries to guide you, always tries to make you reach your destination. So I got omen. I thought, okay, Vivek, if you are alive, why are you alive? That Vivek Sharma is dead. You are alive here for a purpose. What is that purpose? Then I thought, okay, I'm alive today because of my wife. So what about those people who do not get married just because of their certain status? So subsequently, I ended up making a website or a platform, online platform, that is matrimonial platform for patients with critical illnesses and chronic disease, survivors of diseases like cancer and other things, and differently abled people. It has got more than 600, 700 people on the platform now, and many of them have got married also. So that was a thought that if you are alive for a life partner, why don't you enable people to get a life partner? So this was the toughest road to travel. So that's why I chose that. It's divinerelations.in, divinerelations.in, divinerelations.in.
Perfect.
Yeah. And going forward, when I talk about men and women, women are more expressive kind of, My wife was able to cry. She used to, tell people or at least talk to me. But I never get a chance to speak with her, what I'm feeling. What is in my, heart. Even to the matter, in our society, men are considered to be the, strong people, मर्द रोते नहीं है, मर्द को दर्द नहीं है, and kind of thing. So I used to get only respite. I live in Mira Road and my office was in Nariman Point. People living in Bombay can't even dream of. Even I was also not able to dream of traveling in car. But I used to travel because that was the only time I used to be alone. I could cry, I could talk to myself, and I could do everything. But this helped me only little. Gradually, I met, again I got omens. So one friend of mine, she told that, Vivek, why don't you write down? You are good at writing. You are good at creativity? Why don't you write down your experience and how you got saved? You do so many things. You can inspire people. That why don't you choose life in different and difficult circumstances? So that's where a story started. I started writing a book. It's unnamed till that time, and I started writing my own story. And half the way, I felt that Vivek, you have got one kind of problem, and you want to change the life of youth. Not every youth who is depressed or having suicidal thought has lost his child. What about others? Then I interviewed 52 people. I roamed around the country. I met people. I interviewed them. And these 52 people were having a history of hitting to rock bottom. And at some point of time, either many of them, they attempted suicide. Many of them were in deep depression. And many of them were in a place wherein usually anybody would commit suicide. But they all bounced back only for giving back to society. And then I chose, five most powerful stories, and sixth was mine. I wrote this book called God is Not Fair, question mark. So God is Not Fair, question mark is named, it's a very different name. And I had got, various unpleasant experiences wherein people used to, tell, oh, you are a theist. So that's why. But for example, for the information, I'm not an atheist now. I used to be an atheist, but now I'm not an atheist. So God is not fair is not a question mark. So in our life, when something happens, for example, I get late to office, I never blame myself. I always blame somebody else. Traffic was very bad. So, my cook did not come on the time, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. I never blame myself that I got up late or I got really late. So this is how, we all have this tendency to blame somebody or something when things don't go as per our plan. But what in case of mine or many others, I had best of doctors, best of hospital and everything. Then also I could not save my son. Whom do I blame? That is the time, or these are the scenarios wherein we put up the finger up and say, Bhagwan, तूने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया, ऐसा क्यों किया? God, why me? But as we move on in life, we turn back and see. We are able to connect the dots. We know that, okay, if that incident would have not happened with me, I would have not been here. Probably this was the purpose of my life, and that is why that thing happened. So that statement becomes a question mark. So that is why I named it God is Not Fair, question mark. And the book got released, but still I had many things to do. That's why I started this podcast channel wherein, I started telling people about the experiences of other people. We are interacting. I shared the stories of other people whom, I could not include in the book. And by the way, just for the mention over here, depression and mental health is a very, very big taboo in our country. Out of 52, 35 people said straight away, Vivek, do not publish my story. You have been a good soul, you are a good guy, I have shared my story, but do not publish because I don't want to be known as a person who has gone through depression. That is a taboo. So I thought that, okay, what all are the things which put people into the depression? Like relationship is a thing, bullying is one thing, racism, what you are doing is a amazing thing, and then, financial crisis and all that kind of thing, aspiration in the life, failure and all that kind of thing. So I started talking about these issues and how to handle with them, how to cope with them through the real life stories. And that's how, this podcast gained the popularity and many lives have been transformed by now.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. That's the only word that comes to my mind, Vivek. Because I really like the way you started telling a story about yourself in the third person, and finally you revealed that it was you. And I'm sure among most of the listeners, there'll be a lot of people who will be able to see themselves in your story in one way or the other. We do a lot of things thinking, hoping, dreaming, and with a lot of passion and energy, thinking that this is where I need to reach, this is the pinnacle of what my efforts are for. And one fine day we realize that everything was for naught. And then how do you pick yourself up from there and still proceed further? And make a mark on humanity in a way that really affects more people apart from just you in a positive way. Now that is a win in my book. And I mean, if that's not something that is a turnaround story, I don't know what is. So thanks for sharing with us that story, Vivek, and the way you shared it was very nice, very poignant. So we are close to towards wrapping up our episode here. But on a closing note, Vivek, I would love to hear what is that one biggest piece of advice you would want to give to anyone who is facing adversity in their life, whether it is racism, or whether it is depression with something that they may have failed at or lost. What is that one golden rule or advice that you would give them that will help them pick themselves up even more stronger and proceed further in life and make good out of what life they have left with them?
Great. So I'll give two advices. One, because you asked me, and one bonus I will give.
Awesome, go for it.
So first thing is that, see, understand when you are going through some bad phase or bad period, you are not alone. When we go through something like this, no, we think that, okay, why me, मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ, मैंने किसी का क्या बिगाड़ा था, kind of thing. But understand, you are not alone. Before you and after you, hundreds and thousands of people have gone through and will go through what you are going through. So in all circumstances, you need to keep your foot grounded, and the golden advice is talk. Talk, talk, talk. Understand why, talking is so essential because it not only gives you the opportunity. Like, for example, when I was looking for something, I stumbled upon, Shirisha's profile. Had we not talked, we would have not been doing this episode.
True.
And I don't know, nobody knows, who listens to it. Even one life transformed is a great thing, I believe.
I completely believe in that too. You're an example of that for me.
So talk, whatever. You had been, going through bad phase, you need advice, you need to do something. Please talk. Identify whom to talk and do talk. The second thing I would like to advise, never ever stop dreaming. We are not dead when our soul is out of our body. We are dead when we stop dreaming. Never stop dreaming. Whatever, whoever you are small, big, black, white, it does not matter. It does not matter. You dream and keep dreaming, keep your goals aligned to your life's vision. And I believe that every human being born on this earth is here. There is only one purpose of human life. That is to help other human life. Period. There is nothing else. Transforming other human lives is the purpose of any human life. So you have to do it through your dreams, and any obstacle you get in your way, talk. That's all from my side.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Vivek. It's been inspiring, I would say, talking to you, because in life, every one of us, no one is exempt from this rule. Life is not fair, but we have to make our own path and make life fair. Let me put it that way. And the only way we can do that is to be strong. And there are times when we are not strong and we do fail. But to your point, and you put it very nicely, talk, as simple as that. Talk to somebody who will listen to you. They might not be able to give you a solution. They might not have the magic wand to just wave it around and just reverse everything and make it positive for you. Nobody can do that. But at least they will be there to listen to you, to give you maybe a shoulder to cry on. And believe me, sometimes that is such a good release, and it gives your brain that time to actually pause, like you mentioned earlier, right, Vivek? It gives your brain that time to pause and think and actually look at that perspective or that issue in a different mindset altogether. So Vivek, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I loved every single minute of this episode, and I'm sure that your audience and audience of my podcast would enjoy this episode, this conversation that we have had. So thank you so much again, Vivek. I wish you all the very best. This world needs more people like you, and I hope your podcast is able to reach out to as many more people, inspire them, and enable them to live a better life. Thank you so much, Vivek. You have a very good evening. God bless.
Thank you so much, Ajit. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Well, then, I hope you found something of interest in today's podcast. And if you did, please do share for more and share the channel among like minded people. The Human Channel signing off.